Rev up your engines!
Martinely232 says, Scotty, I got a question. How do you remove a stuck oil filter on a Honda Civic? The last clown mechanic bolted on tight, and I can't get it off. Why are there so few good mechanics? All right, well, if you went to like an oil change or something, they hardly pay those guys anything. Some of them are making minimum wage, and so what do you think you're going to get when you have minimum wage workers? Back in Houston, I've been to oil change places, and quite a few of the employees had just gotten out of prison, and they'll hire anybody. Now, when it does get stuck, realize that there's two choices you have. The other day I went to Harbor Freight Tool and I bought one. They make these vice grip pliers that have a chain, and the chain has all the links, and you put it around a filter and then you tighten up and the chain is holding it. You can almost always get them off that way. But if not, and there's not enough room, you can get a long screwdriver, whack it in with a hammer to cut a hole through both sides of the oil filter, have a pan to catch the drips, and then with the long screwdriver you pull hard enough, it will start to unscrew. You're going to throw it away anyways. It doesn't matter. I mean, there's so many clown mechanics because one, it's a dirty job. A lot of people don't want to do it, and unfortunately a lot of places don't pay much, and if you don't pay much you get clowns. That's just how the world works. But today's, even when you pay people, I've met people making six figures at banks, and as far as I was concerned, they were clowns too, so it isn't just the money. Sanchez says, mine 96 Celica ST 1.8 vibrates bad. It's from the motor and does an idle lessons when I go to 1,000 RPM. Turning the AC off or on has no real effect. I changed all the motor mounts of new spark plugs, belts, and pulleys. What could I try? Okay, well, the transmission mounts, you could check them too because that'll make it vibrate. But my 94 Celica vibrates like that, and it's vibrated like that ever since I own it because it's got 240,000 miles on it. The torque converter is worn. The torque converter is between the engine and the transmission, and that's what sends the power to the transmission. And what happens is, as they age, they strain a little bit too much. It makes the engine shake, but if you put it neutral, it goes away, or park. Do what I do. When you're driving around, you don't want it to shake when you come to a stop, just shift it into neutral. That's what I do. And then it doesn't shake at all. You don't want to have to pull the transmission off or replace the torque converter. That's very expensive. And mine's been that way for like 10 years, so I don't care. It's fine when I put it in neutral. Toomey Labib says, Scotty, what's the first car you ever fixed? Okay, it was a 1953 two-tone Ford. It was my father's car, and I was working out when I was preteen in the driveway. It was a Ford Fairlane. It had a 3 on a tree. It had a V8 engine. It was the first car he ever had that went over 100 miles an hour. I was flushing out the cooling system. So in those days, antifreeze isn't what it is today. It didn't last that long. You had to flush them out, and the engines were all cast iron. I always wondered what happened to that old car. It rusted away. There were holes in the back seat. You'd have an ice rink in the winter. One time we took it to my uncle's farm. My mother drove it. I was only 12, and the brakes went out. So this was 50 miles from my father's garage. So my grandfather comes and gives us his car, and we drive back to Niagara Falls. And my grandfather drove that car with no brakes and a 3-speed standard transmission 50 miles back to the garage to fix it. And he didn't get in any wrecks. My grandfather knew how to drive. Alien Batut says, Scotty, what could be the reason my 4Runner's stalling out all of a sudden? All right, all of a sudden. Check for vacuum lines. If a vacuum line comes off, it'll suck air, it'll fall off. Also, watch my video. Make your car run better with a little spray cleaner. So you get a can of throttle cleaner. They're different cleaners. Watch the video. Clean the throttle and clean the mass air sensor. Let it dry for an hour. Start it up. And if it stops, thanks, Scotty, for fixing your car for free. Send checks or money orders too. Fernando Lozano says, Scotty, I have a squeaky noise that stops every time I touch the clutch. What could it be? 2002 Mazda Miata. It squeaks, and when you touch the clutch, it stops squeaking. I can tell you what it is. Your throwout bearing is squeaking. The throwout bearing is just sitting there spinning. But when you step on it, then the throwout bearing pushes against the clutch plate. And if the noise stops, it's because it's just a little bit worn and it's squeaking. Unfortunately for you, in order to replace the clutch throwout bearing, you have to pull the transmission off. So I would wait until it didn't work at all, and then replace the whole kit. Never just replace one clutch part. It costs so much money, or if you do it yourself, it's so much work to pull the tranny off. You might as well buy an entire clutch kit. I can get it for like $120 for those Miatas, and then replace every single part, and then you won't have to think about it for a really, really long time. Damien Poland says, Scotty, how would you compare Volvo to Toyota. All right, realize that many Volvos have Toyota Ace automatic transmissions in them. Now, back in the day, if you went back to the 60s and 70s, Volvos are real solid, well-built cars, but the company was on the verge of bankruptcy. Ford bought them for a while. Now they're owned by the Chinese, and they're getting into electric and hybrid cars. They claim that's all they're going to be making in the future. Toyota isn't that blindsided. Toyota makes much better vehicles today. There's no arguing that. As it comes to electric, partial electric cars, Volvo's probably one step ahead. But as I always say, who knows what kind of electric cars are going to go? Is it going to be lithium battery ones? Is it going to be fuel cell cars with electric motors, but fuel cars running on hydrogen? Nobody knows. So I wouldn't put all my eggs in one basket if I was making electric cars. Who knows how they're actually going to be made? Check this out. Hyundai is getting serious about building a walking car with 4 legs. Now, Hyundai recently got a controlling interest in a robotic company called Boston Dynamics. They came up with this design. Now, it's not something that you're going to ride around with. There's no room for passengers. It's going to be stuff for delivering emergency supplies, things like that, earthquake areas, and of course, they're talking about sending it to Mars and different planets to explore too, as it's got these legs that can go all over the place with wheels on them, so they'd be able to go through any type of terrain. But from my experience as a mechanic of working on Korean cars, I don't think I'd want to send one to another planet because they don't hold up all that well, and then you'd have to send a bunch of mechanics in another spaceship to go and fix the stupid thing. Whether they're going to be used for scientific exploration, looking for people in earthquake or disaster areas to see if people are trapped in places. And the interesting thing is, because it's electric, it's also going to be intended to connect to unmanned aerial vehicles that have charging systems, and they can fully charge them to inaccessible locations. Now, this thing is called Tiger, which stands for Transforming Intelligent Ground Excursion Robot. I like the Tiger better. No wonder they said Tiger. But you won't be driving it because there's no room for passengers. Well, here we go. The poor drivers at Amazon. Amazon delivery vans will soon all have always-on surveillance cameras. I guess they're going to have 4 of them on the inside, on the outside. I guess they've gotten complaints about, they're going through red lights, they're speeding, they're doing this. Well, let's put on our thinking caps. These Amazon drivers, I know some of them, they are pressed. They got to deliver so many hundreds of packages a day. There's so much pressure on them to go faster, faster. Of course, these guys are going to be speeding and, do the old California stop. So now they're going to have surveillance on them full time, and they're even going to have surveillance on if you block the camera. It's going to give warning and show them that they're blocking the camera, so they can't just put a piece of tape over the camera. It's called Driver Eye, and of course, it's made by a California company called Netrodyne. And of course, Amazon says, well, this is for safety of both the driver. It can warn them of people coming. And if somebody gets in a wreck and hits them, they can prove that it was the other person's fault. And sure, there's aspects of all kinds of different things on it. But you got to think, too, now, when the Amazon truck is driving around, it's going to see you on the street. Now, I imagine there's going to be some lawsuits on that, because if you even look at Google Maps, they have to blur the driver's licenses when they're taking pictures of cars out front and people's faces, because that's an invasion of privacy. So I imagine they're probably going to get in some hot water if they're driving around. They're filming absolutely everything and storing all this data. Of course, they say they're not going to use it against anybody, but who knows what's actually going to occur. And of course, the cameras have auto uploading, so they can upload the information automatically in pretty much real time to what's happening with these things. So theory of what's going to happen is they'll probably get a lot of footage of the drivers walking away and giving bad gestures to the camera saying, I can't take it anymore, I quit. So be leery soon of the Amazon delivery vans. They're going to have cameras all over the place watching both the driver and you. Well, if you wanted to ride a big motorcycle around, but you feel it's too heavy and you're not strong enough to move it around when you're maneuvering in a parking lot, you might check out this new device that Michelin filed for a patent. What it is a small motor that bolts on behind the back tire. It is a 3.6 volt DC motor, which puts up to 3 pound-feet of torque directly on the rear tire to move it around. If you need to back it up electrically, it can back it up. If you got to move it around here and there, you can move it sideways, get it in a little parking lot without having to rev the engine up and pop the clutch. Not a bad idea, because, most motorcycles, of course, do not have reverse gears. You don't have to worry about it creating some kind of speed problem, because it only has a top speed of 0.5 mile an hour. It's just for backing up or getting in tight spaces. It'd be a bolt-on thing for motorcycles. Pretty interesting idea, especially for people that are a little bit off in their balance and they're backing their motorcycle out of a tight spot with other motorcycles and they slip and it falls, and not only does it fall and hit the ground, but if it hits other guys' motorcycles and they go down the domino effect, you can have a bunch of bikers mad at you. Kind of like training wheels when kids are learning to ride bicycles, right? But a little bit better, because I mean, it is a problem backing up in motorcycles. They don't have reverse gears, right? Pretty interesting idea. Bolt on to back these big motorcycles out. If you've ever seen anybody driving a big motorcycle that does fall over, they weigh so much. Some of these motorcycles are 600, 700, 800 pounds. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.